I've been in the industry about 30 years, and I have never seen this kind of growth and this kind of challenges. In our particular case, we will be at least double our size by 2030.
I want to just give you a preview of not just today. We're going to have a series of panels and discussions, and I know that in addition to load growth, the thing that everybody's talking about is what does the election mean for our industry.
I've particularly taken with our theme this year, which is from pilot to scale, because that's what we've had to do at United Power.
So we're going to start the day off. We're going to start the event off.
Great to see everybody interacting. I'm Gabriel.
Love you.
I'm honored to be the chair of the GridWise Alliance, and I want to welcome you to gridCONNEXT 2024. It's great to see some, I always say old friends, but that also has got other connotations. In my day job, I'm actually the president and chief executive officer of United Power. And for those of you who don't know United Power, you do actually if you've ever flown into the Denver airport. We're the rural electric co-op that's not so rural anymore around the Denver airport, all that growth you see. And we're kind of ground zero for electrification and for all the great things that are happening in our industry. We've got interesting challenges. That is, we've got phenomenal growth, phenomenal opportunities for electrification, well beyond just data centers. We've got oil and gas, a whole host of things. And as I say, I keep thinking about us as ground zero for the opportunities and the challenges that the entire electric industry faces. I've been in the industry about 30 years, and I have never seen this kind of growth and this kind of challenges. In our particular case, we will be at least double our size by 2030, probably 4 times our size if our numbers are correct. And I can tell you between now and the next 5 years or so, there's not going to be any giant cavalry coming over the hill with transmission to save us, which leads us to start having to think more creatively about what we have and how we interact and operate with the grid. And it's a challenge not just because of the sheer volume that we have to meet, but it's also a challenge because folks have a higher expectation of what the grid provides and what we can provide as a utility. I've particularly taken with our theme this year, which is from pilot to scale, because that's what we've had to do at United Power. We've had no choice because of our growth but to add 115 megawatts of distributed batteries, for example. We've had no choice when we moved from a single power supplier to 26 power suppliers to up the systems that we have behind the scenes to operate. And so when I think about going from pilot to scale, that represents a phenomenal opportunity and a challenge, and I will take one more minute if that's okay.
Oh, please.
to talk about something from my past. Some of you may even know me. I used to work at the Electric Power Research Institute. I was the acting president there. And back in the late 1980s, the electric utility business had a huge challenge. It was called natural gas. Now, not natural gas because of the challenge we face today, but natural gas because it was stealing. Anybody from the natural gas business? Okay. Well, natural gas was stealing our electric water heating load. And it was a big challenge. Why? Because when an electric water heater was switched to a gas water heater, pretty soon the stove was switched. Pretty soon the heating system was switched, and we lost a lot of load. Now, mind you, this was the late 1980s. So the brilliant people in the industry and at EPRI decided to pilot a concept, which was microwave clothes drying. Now, I know you're all going, well, what the heck happens to zippers and snaps and things that are metal? But it turned out that clothes coming out of a traditional washer were too soaked with water to be effectively dried in a microwave oven. Literally would cook them as opposed to drying them. So what was the answer? Well, the answer was to pilot a technology of horizontal access washing, right? Because less water, less soap, and all of those things. But only with the goal of fixing this problem with microwave clothes drying. The issue was the motors would burn out. right? Because they were great spinning this way, but terrible spinning this way. So EPRI funded a whole bunch of work thanks to the industry and did a pilot program of what became the written pole motor. If there's any engineers in the room, which allowed the axis to spin slightly on an angle. That led to something called the Maytag Neptune washer in 1997. So it was a great example of taking a problem that we had as an industry, a challenge, using technology in pretty short order, going to scale with it. And I say that because that's what we're going to have to do as an industry. We will not be able to meet the demands that are coming. Whether or not you believe it's true, that looks like 80 gigawatts of load centers are going to be coming in over the next 6 years. In addition to 80 gigawatts of power being retired from traditional coal, once-through cooling, all sorts of other things. So we're going to have a 160 gigawatt deficit. So how do we deal with that? How do we take the pilots that, like United Power is doing with batteries or others in this room, and drive that to scale to keep the lights on? So I know over the next day and a half, 2 days, we're going to be talking about a lot of technology. My pitch is for you all to be engaged and to continue to be engaged. I'm thrilled that you're here and looking forward to an amazing couple of days. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mark. And I'm Karen Wayland. I'm the CEO of the GridWise Alliance, and thank you all for coming. I'm looking around, and I looked at the registration list, and I think this is the most diverse group of attendees we've had. And by that, I don't mean sort of DEI diversity. I mean from across the industry. We have, I think, more people attending from DOE than we've ever had before. We have people from state offices. We have people from advocacy organizations. We have our members, so utilities, grid equipment manufacturers, technology solution providers, regional transmission operators, and others. But it's really a really neat group of people. And I want to walk you through some of the things that you're going to experience over the next couple days. As Mark said, our theme is grid evolution from pilot to scale. And when we came up with this theme, we were thinking about the GRIP funding and the massive amount of money from the federal government that's coming into, and that GRIP funding is going through DOE in a very different way. DOE has traditionally been an R&D agency, and the GRIP funding really moved it into a demonstration/deployment agency as well. But if you've applied for that funding, you know that much of it is focused on innovation and supporting innovative technologies and demonstration projects. And so we were really thinking, okay, how do we take all the lessons that we've learned from these pilot scale demonstration projects and really project them into resulting in the scale of technology deployment and grid operations that we need to meet the challenges that Mark described? So throughout the next 2 days, you'll hear there'll be a couple panels on the thing that everybody's talking about, which is load growth. How do we meet the challenges of load growth? What do we do with the grid edge space? What do we do with meters? What do we do with coordination between the distribution and transmission system? We'll hear about workforce. What are the workforce challenges that we need to address in order to really scale up technology innovation? So I want to start by acknowledging our sponsors, because this would not be possible without our sponsors, and this is alphabetical. Anterix, Aviva, Black & Veatch, CenterPoint Energy, Dell Technologies, EPE, EPRI, GE Vernova, Guidehouse, Lannis & Gear, a New York Power Authority. And by the way, New York Power Authority will have a table out in the luncheon area throughout the day where you can look at some of the technologies that NYPA is deploying. PNNL, Schneider Electric, Utility Collaborative 2030, Latitude Media, and Grid Forward. So thank you very much to our sponsors for making this happen. I want to just give you a preview of not just today. We're going to have a series of panels and discussions, and I know that in addition to load growth, the thing that everybody's talking about is what does the election mean for our industry. So we're going to start the day off, we're going to start the event off by getting that out of the way. And then we'll have some panels and we'll have some discussions. The last thing on the agenda for today is the now famous hot seat that Lee Krevat does with an interview over hot sauce tasting with Maria Robinson from the Grid Deployment Office. She was good enough to volunteer to be a victim. And then tomorrow morning, we start at 8:30 with a member meeting, and that's when we get to tell you what we're doing at GridWise and get your feedback on some of the initiatives that we've done over the last year and introduce you to new board members. So that starts at 8:30. And then we finish the day with what we're hoping is going to be a very interactive policy platform workshop. And here's where we're asking you. We developed a policy platform a few years ago that was called the Grid Investments for Economic Recovery. That became the recommendations that we submitted to Congress and to agencies for infrastructure funding in what became the bipartisan infrastructure law. And I think we were very successful with that. I mean, one of the programs that was enacted into law was the Smart Grid Investment Grant Program for Flexibility, which was our second recommendation in the infrastructure bill. The first one was funding for resilience, which, as you know, there were billions of dollars for resilience. So we're hoping that with your help, we can develop a new policy platform that really looks at the new challenges that we have and figure out what federal and state action we need to talk about in order to address these challenges and accelerate that scale of innovation. So come with your ideas. That's the last thing that we'll do tomorrow afternoon, and we really hope that's going to be very interactive.